Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview of our Aviation Week Network ATW Leadership Forum. My name is Kurt Hofmann. I'm a correspondent for ATW, and I have a great pleasure today to talk to Peter Foster, the President and CEO of Air Astana. Hello, Peter. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Kurt, and very good to see you too.
Thank you much for your time. I know all airline CEOs very busy in these days, and we appreciate really to have a chat with you. Air Astana, I can say, is the leading airline in Central Asia, and it really builds up a strong brand. It has a very modern fleet, for example, operating Airbus A321neo LRs or Embraer E2 jets. Air Astana grow over the last years very well and is a profitable company. But however, the coronavirus pandemic, also Air Astana is not immune about that. So Peter, maybe you can give us an update. Where is Air Astana today? How is it working? And how good is it to have a big, large domestic market to resume operations?
Yes, thanks, Kurt. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be with everybody this afternoon. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the number of movements, actually, the actual number of movements, takeoffs and landings that we have at the moment, if we take the entire total number, both domestic and international, we're actually only 21% down on the same period last year. But actually, if you divide that into domestic and international, then the picture, of course, is very diverse. Domestic operations are actually up on last year. They're up by more than 10%, in fact. But international operations are very significantly down. In fact, we in terms of international passengers, even for the months of September and October, we are very close to 75% down on international movements and international passengers. So, so in terms of ASKs and in terms of RPKs, we're well short of where we were this time last year. And again, it's the international network, or lack thereof, I should say. That is the problem for us. So yeah, I mean, we are fortunate to have a large country and therefore a large domestic operation. But that doesn't compensate, obviously, for the absence of by far the majority of our international network.
I know that you have actually two hubs. You have Almaty and the capital Nur Sultan. The former name was Astana. And I know the Sixth Freedom business was quite an important segment for you.
Well, Sixth Freedom
recovery. Sorry. Do you see any recovery of this business in the near future with all these travel restrictions what we have internationally?
Sixth Freedom for us, I mean, traditionally we up until about 2011 we were not a Sixth Freedom carrier.
Okay.
But then it became part of our business model. So for the last sort of really from about 2015, 16 on, it's been approximately 25% of our total revenue, and it's pretty safe to say that it's all gone, the whole lot.
There's no comeback.
So. Well, I mean, we can talk about that in a second, but I think, so we've lost 25% of our business. So that's a painful blow, but it's not, in our case, an existential blow, because it wasn't the key driver of our business. So as I say, it's painful, but not terminal. Will it come back? Well, we are not planning. In our forward planning, we're not planning for it to come back, certainly for the next 18 months, which I think is the bare minimum, really.
From all the international and also long-haul routes you have, do you think all of them can resume in the future, or some markets are really never will return?
Well, I think we have to look at how the market is changing. Clearly, one change that's taking place is that I mean, the leisure market is showing, I think, surprising resilience. But it is a very different leisure market. It's a leisure market that quite clearly wants, it does not want to transit through large hubs. It's clearly developed into a market which wants to get board an aircraft in point A and get off in point B without having to transit. So that's quite a dramatic development, I would say, but it is there. So we are already operating and planning to operate more point-to-point charters to leisure destinations, which inevitably means that there will be less operations through some, if not all, but through some hubs.
Peter, we talked about some time ago regarding alliances with airlines. Is this a topic still with an airline need today to be in an alliance? I know Air Astana was never really a favorite of it. How you see the importance of an alliance today, or you go more with joint ventures or co-chair agreements?
Well, we don't see, I mean, in our case, obviously alliances, because they can be quite restrictive in nature as to who one can or cannot deal with. We have never been a huge fan of alliances because we like to have these bilateral relations with carriers in different parts of the network, and often those carriers are not from the same alliance. So we've always preferred bilateral arrangements. I think at this particular point in time, obviously, the value of alliance is much more limited for obvious reasons. But in fact, conversely, the value of bilateral partnerships, if anything, is much greater, because obviously airlines have cut back capacity even on major key routes. Yeah. So we have, just to quote two examples, we have co-chairs with Lufthansa to Frankfurt and with Turkish Airlines to Istanbul. And conversely, we think that those bilateral relationships that we have with those two carriers, I mean, they fall short of joint ventures, but they are extensive co-chair agreements. And they're more important now than they ever have been.
Oh, I understand. Another segment in your business is your low-cost carrier, Fly Aristan. How many aircraft you have now, and how is this performing? And was it is it good to have a low-cost carrier now in these days?
I think, yeah, I mean, Fly Aristan's just taken delivery last week, actually, of its 7th aircraft. It now has 7 aircraft. And we have 4 more confirmed aircraft arriving within the next 6 months, 8 months. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Fly Aristan, it was only, we only started it last May, and it's already up to 7 aircraft. We started with 2, this year, well, for example, last month, we just had a look at the September and October figures, and in that month and a half, right up to the end of last week, Fly Aristan has grown at 156% over the same period last year. So it's a huge growth business for us. I think history has shown that over the last 20 years, whenever there's been a financial crisis, be it the Asian financial crisis in 98 or the crisis surrounding the September 2001 events, and then the financial crisis, on every single occasion, the low-cost carriers have come out and come up and recovered much faster than full-service carriers. And this clearly, obviously, is because there's been a huge pent-up demand for travel, but at the same time, consumer spending power has been significantly degraded. So that combination of a demand for travel together with less consumer spending power has meant, very logically, that it's been the low-cost airlines that have been able to cater to that resurgent demand. And we are finding exactly the same in our own case. The demand for seats on Fly Aristan, which is only operating domestically at the moment, has been very strong and continues to be very strong.
Can Air Astana learn from Fly Aristan and the other way around? Can you learn from each other? You can learn from low-cost carrier and the other ones from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can always learn. For sure, there's no question that Air Astana full service carriers can learn can learn plenty of efficiencies from low-cost carriers. By the same token, we have a very high quality full service carrier. Air Astana is committed to and indeed delivers very high quality service. And Air Astana has to also deliver high quality service. Low cost should not be in low quality. So both airlines can indeed learn from each other. Obviously, it's a symbiotic relationship between the two, since they're both part of the same group, evidently. And ultimately, we manage both airlines.
Yeah.
But all I would say is that we're extremely glad that we do have Air Astana now. It has been an extremely effective vehicle to deploy as particularly the domestic market has come back into life since the end of May.
And finally, Peter, I know there are so many challenges now for airlines in these days, for everyone. Can you maybe tell us what's the main challenge for Air Astana in these days? So what's the big thing?
I think the main challenge is keeping the team together and focused. I mean, the big challenge at the moment that we've all got, I think the entire industry has got, is organizational. There has been plenty of recessions in the past, but there have never been recessions when government decisions have closed down our business. That's government decisions all over the world, and we're not obviously singling out any particular government. And so the recession and recovery, such as it is or has been in the last couple of months until the latest round of lockdowns, has been almost patternless, which has meant that we've had to be even more flexible than we were in the wake of previous crises. And that flexibility can only be effectively executed with a team that is really working very closely together, and that remains, despite the circumstances and all the uncertainty, and the job losses and the salary cuts and everything else, remains committed and motivated and flexible and nimble, and capable of delivering, a very high level of customer experience. So I think managing the team and keeping the team motivated and focused is the biggest single challenge.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your time. We appreciate very much that we could talk to you in Almaty in your office, and looking forward to see you soon again. And ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, thank you very much for watching us here, and until the next interview. Thank you. And Peter.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.